A line plot uses marks to record each piece of data above a number line. Let's say I measured the height of plants in my garden. Well, whenever you measure things, you can create a line plot. So here's the different heights I got. I got 7 inches, 7 1/4, 7 1/2, 8 inches. Notice I didn't get anything between 7 1/2 and 8 inches, so that would be 7 3/4, and 9 inches. So again, nothing between 8 and 9, but I got exactly 8 and 9 inches for a few plants. And it says how many of each type of plant. So what I want to do is take this data and put it into a line plot. First thing you need to do is draw yourself a number line. And you're going to start that number line at your lowest data point, which is 7 inches, and end at your highest, which is 9. Now I need to also remember all the pieces of data that I didn't get anything for. So I'm going to go ahead and split this up. I have 8 inches in between, and then in between 7 and 8 I would have 7 1/2. And in between 7 and 7 1/2 inches I would have 7 1/4. And then in between 7 1/2 and 8 inches I would have 7 3/4. Even though I don't have data for it, I want to show that by putting nothing above it on my number line. And then in between 8 and 9 I do the same thing, even though there's no data. 8 1/2 inches, 8 1/4 inch, and 8 3/4 inches. So now I have my line plot ready to go. You can get kind of crowded down here, so sometimes you may almost just not want to label your 1/4 inches and know that whoever's looking at it will know that if this is 7 1/2 and this is 7 and this is 7 1/2, you'll have 7 1/4 in the middle there. 7 inches, I have 3 plants. So this is the simple part. All I do is I put 1, 2, 3 X's above 7 inches. 7 1/4, I have 5. So I go to 7 1/4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 1/2 is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 inches is 3, so I skip from 7 1/2 all the way to 8. I go 1, 2, 3. And then I go all the way to 9 inches where I had 2. 1, 2. And it gives you a better picture of the data. And a great question would say, what length were most of my plants? And most of my plants were between 7 and 7 1/2 inches. You can see that data here. You might ask, which length had the least number of plants? And if you excluded the zeros, you could say 8, you could say 9 inches over here with 2. But at the same time, those are the biggest, so those are the ones that just must have gotten really, really big, and then the rest of them kind of stayed in this range. Which plant was which length was the most common? And then B 7 1/4 was the biggest height, well, the one that had the most height. So there's different questions you can ask yourself and look at within this set of data. I can use and make line plots. That's your learning target. I provided a table of data including 1, 0. It has every measurement from 5 to 6 inches. So you have 5 inches, 5 1/4, 5 1/2, 5 3/4, and 6 inches on this number line. What I want you to do is just plot this data as a line plot. So what we have here looks like pencil length. So the length of pencils in inches, and the number of pencils that were of each length.